III NCAA pre-nationals race right here on the Laverne Gibson Championship cross-country course. Of course, with the championship race coming back here in just a little over a month, a lot of the top teams in the country eyeing an opportunity to get back here for those NCAA championship races, and this will be a nice test to see where all these teams are at, and a lot of really good teams are in this field. We're glad to have you all tuned in here on runnerspace.com on what is complete darkness now, at least at the skies, not necessarily on the course, with the lights lit up here. Keenan Gray here. It's been an exciting last couple of hours, but really the main events now just getting ready to go here in this first championship race. Is actually going to be the women's 6K race. It was scheduled to be the men's 8-kilometer race, but a flip-flop in the schedule, and it'll be the women's first on this 6-kilometer route. So last year's Division III pre-nats, which were held in Pennsylvania last year, saw the Claremont Mud Scripps women score 51 points and finish with 5 runners in the top 20 to beat out MIT by 48 points. A dominating effort from CMS out of California, putting away the rest of the field there and go on to have a great season last year. But MIT is back. They were, again, second at this race last year, the top returning team, and they have their hands full with a squad out of Illinois, the number 2 team in the country at Division III level, the University of Chicago, who had such a great ending to their season last year, finishing 3rd at the NCAA Division III cross-country championships. And they bring a whole bunch of runners back from last year's squad, including Evelyn Battleson Gunkel, who will be the heavy favorite here tonight. The All-American, finishing 13th at last year's cross-country championships, and was 3rd in the 3,000 and 5,000 at the 2024 NCAA Indoor Championships. The gun is up, and the racing is off here. The first championship race of the night is the women's 6K pre-nats race. So 9 teams in the latest national coaches polls are racing in this one alongside the number 2 team, Chicago, and number 4, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. There's also number 10, Washington University out of Missouri. 13th last year at the 2023 NCAA Championships, and most recently 6th at the John McNichols Invite, just right over at Indiana State University. Number 17, DePauw, 20th at the NCAA Championships last year. Recently won the Grizzly Invitational and then the Guilds Dodds Invitational to open up the season. Then you also see number 18, Central College. Number 19, George Fox. Number 21, Washington and Lee. Number 22, Connecticut College. And then out of California, the number 29 team in the country, UC Santa Cruz. And for a lot of these women, just getting a feel of this course and hopefully wanting to return back here in November on the 23rd for the finale, that is the NCAA Championship. See there on your the elevation tracker, now that downhill portion for that long 1K stretch. And much different from what we saw in the high school race, where they will go onto the outside portion of the course. They'll make a quick turn to their right and go inward onto the course once they pass that 1 kilometer mark. See a whole bunch of MIT runners out front there, including leading things off for them early on the right hand of your screen in Kate Sanderson, 34th at the last year's NCAA championships. It's also a qualifier for outdoor and indoor in track. And possibly one of the favorites to take home the individual crown in the East region this year after finishing 4th in that region last year. Then they just passed that kilometer mark and now make their way inward. Well, they'll head to that Y right there. So right just before that 4 kilometer mark, even though they're not going to go straight ahead, they're going to make that quick turn to their left and head back towards that 1 kilometer mark, and then make their way onto the outside where we did see the high school athletes run on the outer perimeter towards that 2K mark. So Sanderson in the middle of your screen. And then Riley Buese, who has had such a phenomenal year so far for Lewis and Clark, just outside Portland, Oregon. Was 17th last year at the NCAA Championships, 6th in the West region, and had a really good outdoor campaign that was capped off with a 3rd place finish in the 10,000 at the Outdoor Championships. And most recently had a really good effort up at the PLU Invitational in Tacoma, Washington, running a 6K personal best, 21:13 to finish 2nd at the PLU Invitational. You got Rachel Brennan of Gordon up in that mix, left of your screen. It's 12th in the 10,000 at the NCAA Outdoor Championships for Division III. Has so far won her first 2 cross-country races of the fall. Also picking up a lifetime best effort in the 6K at the Pop Crowell invite. So a lot of women still bunched up here, just coming up to 2 kilometers. There you see on the athletic course tracker. They make their way back out onto the outer loop. A shift of athletes that continue to go out front, including Stephanie Ager. Of Wesleyan, 67th at the NCAA Championships last year. So they round that turn now into the outer loop and head into that 2K split. Continues to be Riley Buese of Lewis and Clark in the front. And Ager to her left. There you see on the left side, team standings to this point, MIT with a commanding lead over DePauw, and you don't see the number 2 team in the country up in the mix. There you see University of Chicago in 8th with 271 points, so 200 points behind the number 4 team in the country, and MIT has so far put together a really good team performance, including having 4 women in the top 20 through 2K. That lead pack still stays intact, led by Buese of Lewis and Clark. And see some new athletes now up in the front half. It's Faith Duncan of Wilmington, Ohio, the NCAA Division III outdoor champion in the 5,000. So far has won her first 3 cross-country races of the day, and one of those favorites to contend for this individual title today. They're wearing the green hat and the sunglasses on your left. Just coming up onto 3 kilometers now, as they made a hairpin turn heading now south on the course. See a lot of runners now going single file here. Almost halfway through as we've hit a downhill portion on this course. Sense the pattern with this course. You're heading south, it's going to be a lot of downhill. If you're heading north, it's going to be a lot of uphill. And for a lot of this course towards the end, it is heading north, and it will be uphill for these athletes. Kenzie Seymour of UC Santa Cruz, right next to Buese of Lewis and Clark. And just ahead of Duncan of Wilmington. As they've gone back over towards the 2K and 1K mark, and they'll loop their way back up north and head towards the 4 kilometer, part of that uphill portion of this course. As those 3 women start to break away from the rest of the field, the 4th and 5th now created a second pack. As it's Seymour first around the turn now up into the uphill portion. One race under Seymour's belt already this season. It was a 43rd place finish at the UC Riverside Invitational back on September 21st, and it was actually a lifetime best performance for the sophomore, running 20:56.3. And she's challenging herself so far against the NCAA outdoor champion in Faith Duncan. Faith Duncan. And then the All-American Riley Buese of Lewis and Clark. You see the elevation tracker now, that uphill portion, probably the steepest part of this course. As they're 3 across now. Approaching that 4-kilometer mark. At 2K, it was MIT in the lead, and hopefully we'll get a better idea at about 4 kilometers where the rest of the field sits at. Then number 2, Chicago, was well behind the rest of the field. They sat in 7th position with 280 points after 2K. Probably not a position they necessarily want to be in, but probably part of their strategy is work their way up throughout this race and try to chase down as many women as possible. As we're now 4K through this race, and it's Kenzie, Seymour, Duncan, and Buese, all within tenths of a second of each other at 14:09. And now Seymour trying to put a gap on both Duncan and Buese, and this was a young lady that finished 208th last year at the national championships in cross country. Which of course was well behind both Duncan and Buese. And Seymour really starting to put pressure on the NCAA Outdoor 5,000 champion. With less than 2K to go. But Duncan not giving in here, just sitting on her shoulder now to her right. And MIT, through 4K in the team standings, 28 points, and as expected, University of Chicago moves themselves up to 2nd, but are well behind last year's pre-nationals runner-ups. Seymour and Duncan starting to pull away now from Lewis and Clark's Buese. And now it's Duncan just a little bit ahead of Seymour. As the course keeps getting harder and harder as they go along. You know, the athletic course tracker, the many hairpin turns we're seeing here towards the end, approaching that 5-kilometer mark. Yeah, 5,000 meter champion looking to see if she can keep her undefeated season alive, and it's looking real good so far. As the gap has now grown to about 5 seconds for Faith Duncan of Wilmington out of Ohio. And through 5K now, 17:33.8. See her make herself up to the uphill portion once again. As Kenzie Seymour starts to fall a little bit behind. Just 7 seconds now separating Duncan and Seymour. MIT continue running strong. They have 4 women in the top 20. 5 now in the top 25. And the number 4 team in the country is looking in good position to see if they can avenge their second place finish from last year and come away with a pre-nationals win. Well, when you talk about when the lights are bright and running at your best, Faith Duncan is no stranger to that. Of course, as I mentioned over and over again, the defending champion or reigning champion in the outdoor 5,000 has taken complete control of this one over the last kilometer. And is looking like perhaps maybe one of the favorites now to win the NCAA individual crown as she makes that turn now into the home straightaway. And that lifetime best of 21:17.6 is in serious jeopardy now, as Duncan looks to join the elite group of athletes who have gone on to run on this course so many years and win on the Laverne Gibson course. Not many people can say they've done so. In really what's been a clinic effort here over the last 1 kilometer by the sophomore. As Faith Duncan really pulled away here in the end from Kenzie Seymour. And a statement win, if you will. The reigning NCAA Outdoor 5,000 champion will continue her unbeaten season with a monumental win at the Division III pre-national meet here in Terre Haute. Faith Duncan of Wilmington, your winner, 21:02 for a lifetime best to take the women's 6K race. Kenzie Seymour finishing in second, 21:25.6. Then MIT's first runner across the line, that's Kate Sanderson in 21:33. And then the next MIT runner, Lexi Fernandez, in 10th in 21:48. And then 2 more MIT runners in Rujuta Sane and Christina Crow. There you see some Chicago athletes now finishing across the line. And then MIT's 5th and 6th runner well ahead of the rest of the field. And then their 7th as well. So all 5 runners across the line for both MIT and Chicago, but really the story a massive statement from last year's runner-up at the 2023 NCAA Pre-Nats. It's MIT avenging unofficially with the win here. And a very impressive team performance for the number 4 team in the country. There you see as more athletes keep filing it. MIT at this point, 29 points. A 52-point swing. Now a 61-point swing over Chicago. Again, as more and more athletes keep filing in, that score will keep going up for both MIT and Chicago. Needless to say, though, MIT with a massive statement win here at Terre Haute. It's Washington U finishing what appears to be in 4th, and now the number 17 team in the country, DePauw, moves up into 3rd. So the number 10 team, Washington, finishing 4th unofficially, and then number 22, Connecticut College, they're in 5th position. Wesleyan finishing ahead of number 29, UC Santa Cruz. Then Pomona Pitzer in 8th. Number 19, George Fox in 9th. And then Wisconsin Whitewater in 10th.